All right, Micah chapter 1, and I'm going to have you go to verse 2. I know we've already covered all that. Micah 1, verse 2. He says, "Hear, all ye people, hearken, O earth, and all therein, and all that therein is, and let the Lord God be witness against you, the Lord from his holy temple." This is the plea of the book. There's one word in there I like. He says, let. That is, it's up to you if you receive the message. Now, there's a great benefit if you do, and there's a great destruction if you don't. Okay, in every book you read, I try to do this. I try to find the question or the reason for the book and what the resolution for it is. Okay, so to me that's a major call to action there in chapter 1. Now go to chapter 2, and this is where I see the resolution. Chapter 2, verse 7. "O thou that art named the house of Jacob, is the Spirit of the Lord straitened? Are these his doings? Do not my words do good to him that walketh uprightly?" He's saying, let God talk to you. The benefit is when his words enter, they do you good, not evil. Now, a lot of what's going to transpire in this book is pretty harsh. But he's saying, let God's word come in, and it'll straighten you up. He's not going to be straightened by you. He's going to straighten you out, because we all need it. All right, we're in Micah. Micah 1, verse 7 is where we begin. And let's see if there was anything else I needed to tell you. Remind me at the end, and I'll give you some information on getting quotes for the Founding Fathers. Okay, Micah 1, verse 7. He says, "And all the graven images thereof shall be beaten to pieces, and all the hires thereof shall be burned with fire, and all the idols thereof will I lay desolate. For she gathered it of the hire of an harlot, and they shall return to the hire of an harlot." God is not happy. All the hires thereof shall be burned with fire. That is, the end of this earth is not going to be a flood. He's already done that one. It's going to be fire, and he's going to melt it with a fervent heat. He's got two things that he likes to use as a demonstration of his anger and wrath. One is water, and the other is fire. And you want the water more than you want the fire. Remember, in the water, a few did escape. But either way, it's bad news. Israel is going to, at the time, what they're doing is they're doing evil things in order to make a living. They're hiring themselves out to the foreign nations and making money on them. And God says, what you've done in the process is you've corrupted your own selves. And that's what happens. You start cutting corners in order to make business deals. And he says, no, it's affected you, and I see it. It's corrupted you. We saw it this morning. Evil communications corrupt good manners. He says, she gathered it of the hire of an harlot. That is, he's considering what they made was just her doing the service of an harlot. He said it was not legitimate business. Once you throw another god in the mix, I count the whole thing as corrupt. Because Israel counted on legalized religion, and they were amalgamating all the religions in. They would go find out what the other countries were doing. You know, the very thing God said, don't do when you get in my land. The very thing. That's what they were doing. Look at Habakkuk 2, verse 12. Habakkuk 2, verse 12. Habakkuk 2, verse 12. He says, woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and establisheth a city by iniquity. Now, it's hard to draw the dots there, but what he's doing is he's saying your pagan worship was blood sacrifice. And that's how you became a wealthy city. That's how you established yourselves. He says, woe to you that do that, because God repays the innocent. God stands up for the innocent. Now, maybe not in our lifetime, and maybe not as fast as you think he ought to, but he will. He always rectifies the innocent. He says, and they shall turn to their hire of an harlot. He says, I'm going to give you exactly what you earned. Nineveh, the capital of Assyria, was considered a harlot. In Nahum 3 verse 4, he says this, because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts, that selleth nations through her whoredoms, and families through her witchcraft. That was the pagans at the time. They were very into the mystic arts and witchcraft. They divined. They asked their gods to tell them whether or not a battle was going to be successful or not. I didn't give you the passages. What they would do is they would cut open an animal sacrifice. Hopefully it was an animal. Sometimes not animals. And they would look at the liver. The liver, a live liver, just as it's dying, it puts off a certain color. And if the liver is a healthy pink color, then they knew they would conquer. If it was a bad liver, guy's been drinking too much, then they thought they would die, they were going to lose the battle. All that mystical stuff and exalting things that God had created as though it was God. Now, Christians do something similar. We exalt the answers God uses as though that's God. When he solves our problem by one means, we start thinking that one means is the answer. No, it's the God who used it, and he can pick up any stick he wants to and make anything out of it. Micah 1, look at verse 8. Therefore I will wail and howl. I will go stripped and naked. I will make a wailing like the dragons, and mourning as the owls. Now, this is some deep stuff here. You got owls and dragons. How many of you have seen a dragon lately? In the Bible you see them. Now, this is not a mythological creature. It's a real deal. There is real dragons out there, and there's nothing nice about it. Owls, he's put in the same class as a dragon. Owls are not good animals. Basically, if it appears on your dollar bill, it's no good. In the right hand or the left hand corner of your dollar bill, at the very top, if you get a magnifying glass, you'll see it, is an owl. Sitting there watching everybody. Owls are unclean animals in the Bible, and they go hand in hand with this dragon. Look at Isaiah 34. Isaiah 34 verse 2. We're going to link these owls and dragons with the time God brings them to earth and brings them out. Or he doesn't bring them to earth, but Isaiah 34 verse 2. For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations, not just Israel, not just one that he's picking on, all nations. Just as we're going to find in our book, he's going to go through, and he's not just, he started out with just talking to Israel and Judah, but soon he's going to switch it to even the pagans. He's going to start talking about the Philistines in a minute. God gets mad, and when he gets mad, anything in his path gets destroyed. Now the heathen have it coming to them, but he doesn't just stop with Israel. He's going to wipe them all out. He says, upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. Now we know he's going to point toward the advent in this passage. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses. That is, the stink was already in them. It just came out. That's man. Man really is a stinking creature. Animals all are attuned to it more than humans. Animals can sniff things out, and they know everybody, and of course they don't get offended by horrible odors. I do. He says, verse 3, their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. He's going to boil them. It's we've talked about it before. It's like a nuclear weapon goes off, and it just melts things, and it's so hot and probably has radiation, so much so that it melts mountains. Crazy stuff that's going to happen. He calls it, he'll do his act, his strange act. He's got some warfare weapons that we don't know anything about. Verse 6. The sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, and with the fat of kidneys of rams. For the Lord hath a sacrifice in Bozrah, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. That's south of Israel. The Idumea, that's down there around, Esau's territory. Verse 7, and the unicorns, there's an animal we don't know anything about. The unicorns shall come down with them. Okay, is a unicorn a good thing? They sure have made it a good thing nowadays. It's not a good thing. Biblically, it's not a good thing. So no wonder the world is going to pick up on these little things, little nuggets, because it's plain in the spirit world. The devil knows what these things are. And so they want you to think it's good, so that when it shows up, of course we won't be here. Hopefully everybody here won't be here. We'll be behind. We'll know exactly what's going on. But the world that's around at the time will think, oh good, a flying unicorn has come down to save me. No, it's not. Verse 7, the unicorn shall come down with them, and the bullocks with the bulls. Those are the bulls of Bashan, no good. And their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness. Verse 8, for it is the day of the Lord's vengeance. That's second advent. And the year of recompense for the controversy of Zion. Tribulation is about one thing. Not the heathen. He's going to punish the heathen. But that's not what it's about. It's about Daniel's 70th week. It's about one nation getting punished for what they've done to God. And in the process of God punishing that one nation, he wipes out the earth. Whew. Verse 9. And the stream thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone. Sound like anything you know about? Fire and brimstone. And the land thereof shall become burning pitch. Whew. It's going to be hell on earth, literally. Look at verse 12. They shall call the nobles thereof to the kingdom, but none shall be there, and all her princes shall be nothing. And thorns shall come up in her palaces, nettles, brambles in the forest is thereof, and it shall be an habitation of dragons, and a court for owls. What is going to become the court and all this stuff for the dragons and the owls? Hell on earth. Now, hold your place there. I'll come back. I should have put this in the notes. I didn't. Let's go to Matthew chapter 5. Matthew 5, verse 22. Jesus talking about the time that he's ruling in the millennium in this chapter. Matthew 5, verse 22. But I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. That is, there is going to be a judgment set up, just like a court would be. That'll be in the millennium. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Raca, shall be in danger of the council. Okay, so that's a court of peers. But whosoever shall say, thou fool, shall be in danger of hell fire. It's a literal place there visible. They get tossed into. You find another place that says, don't fear him that can destroy just your body, but fear him who can destroy both body and soul in hell. You got to pay attention to that thing. He's saying somebody gets their body destroyed in hell. Our people that live now, their bodies don't get destroyed in hell. Their bodies get buried in the ground. Their soul goes to hell. But he says there's coming a day that people's body will go into hell. That's that judgment being tossed right in, and it'll be visible, physical on earth.
Is that just like corn?
Yeah. All right, back to our text. Isaiah 34, verse 14. The wild beast of the desert shall also meet with the wild beast of the island, and the satyr shall cry for his fellow, and the screech owl also shall rest there, and find herself a place of rest. That is, they're resting in hell, and they enjoy it. These are some animals that are going to be here in the tribulation. There's going to be some wild-looking animals that come out of the pit, literally, in hell, come up out of hell, and they'll be here during the tribulation. Verse 15. I just thought of something. That's what the world is prepping people for with this stupid movie. What was that movie called? The Green People. What do you call that thing? I don't know what it was called. You know what I'm talking about, David. I'm sure you've seen it 4 or 5 times. What was the movie they just had with this green monster type things? I'll think of it when I don't need it, but satire or something, I don't know. Anyway, but the world is pushing all this mess in Hollywood, and it's going to really... Avatar, that's it. Beast, animals, beings like that. You know what that avatar is? That avatar is a mix between an alien and a human. That's exactly what it looks like. Because that type of thing's going to really show up. And it ain't a healthy thing when it shows up. But all the people have learned to love that little creature on the screen. So when it shows up to do destruction to mankind, they're going to welcome it. It's what Hollywood's purpose is. Verse 15. There shall the great owl make her nest, and lay and hatch, and gather under her shadow. There shall the vulture also be gathered, every one with her mate. Vultures are not good things, they eat dead animals. Verse 16. Nothing clean about it. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord, and read. No one of these shall fail, none shall want her mate. For my mouth hath commanded, and his spirit it hath gathered them. God says, this is set in stone. I'm not going to reverse this one. This is going to happen. Ooh. Look at Zechariah 5. Zechariah 5, verse 5. Here's some more of these creatures out there that we don't know anything about unless you read your Bible. And unless you believe the mess Hollywood's putting out. Hollywood puts the wrong spin on it, but they've got the right products. Zechariah 5, verse 5. Then the angel that talked with me went forth and said unto me, Lift up now thine eyes and see, what is this that goeth forth? Don't you love that? The Bible asks a question and he knows you don't have any answer. You have no clue what he's talking about. I like Ezekiel's answer. Lord, thou knowest. I have no clue. You tell me. Verse 6. And I said, what is it? And he said, this is an ephah that goeth forth. He said, moreover, this is their resemblance throughout all the earth. So here's something that is showing up and is on earth. You can count on it. They're here now. They have been for more than 2,000 years. This is a wicked creature. Look down at verse 8. And he said, this is wickedness. And he cast it in the midst of the ephah, and he cast the weight of the lead upon it, upon the mouth thereof. Verse 9. Then lifted I up my eyes and looked, and behold, there came out 2 women, and the wind was in their wings. For they had wings like the wings of a stork, and they lifted up the ephah between the earth and heaven. Okay, so you've got some angels with wings here, and they're obviously females. This is the picture you get when anybody draws the picture of an angel. They're drawing pure wickedness. But that's how people identify it. As an angel, a woman with long flowing hair and wings. He says, no, that's wickedness, and this is the way they appear on earth. Ooh. And so we've got idiots running around telling us about these visions they've had, and they've seen these angels, and they're describing this mess right here. And it's pure wickedness. In Matthew 13. Matthew 13, verse 4. This is the parable of the sower and the seed. Matthew 13, 4. He says, and when he sowed, some seed fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Fowls, that's birds. But I just like the word, fowl. Fowl, it means not good. And that's what they are. They're not good. Let's find Jesus explain the parable. Verse 19. And when anyone heareth the word of the kingdom, and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one, and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which received the seed by the wayside. He said, I'm going to explain it to you. The fowl is the devil, the wicked one. Ooh. So, you'll find these demons. Now, the Bible doesn't use the word demons. It'll use the word devil, and devils plural. We understand what he's talking about. The beast out of the pit. The wicked creatures that influence people for evil. Look at Revelation 18. Revelation 18, verse 2. Revelation 18, 2. Chris tripped over this passage this morning. Where was that? It was in Jeremiah something?
Sure it was.
Where was that?
Mother of all harlots.
Yeah, where was that? Jeremiah something?
Yeah. It'd take me a minute to find it.
Okay, yeah. Think about it. We'll read this verse and we'll get yours. Revelation 18, verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of, there it is, devils, plural, and the whole of every fowl, as in bird, spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Whew. So there are creatures in the spirit realm that mimic the creatures we know about on earth. And he's identified them here. He says they're pure wickedness. They're no good. They're demonic. And that's what we're reading about. Now, the other passage you were in was... okay, now we're going to go to somewhere. Well, I'm real prepared tonight, aren't I? Let's see, where was that? Oh, I know where that was. That was... I got too many notes. We're going to Jeremiah 9. Jeremiah 9. When you read your Bible, you have to think, and there's some spots in there that are more difficult than others. And sometimes it just doesn't, until you really start trying to put it together, you just don't see what's going on. Jeremiah 9.
24.
Okay. Yeah. He says, thus saith the Lord, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, neither let the mighty man glory in his might, Let not the rich man glory in his riches, but let him that glorieth glory in this, that he understandeth and knoweth me, that I am the Lord, which executeth loving kindness, judgment, and righteousness in the earth. For in these things I delight, saith the Lord. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will punish all them which are circumcised with the uncircumcised. That's what's going on not only in the tribulation, but also in our passage. That's exactly what goes on when Assyria comes in and when Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, comes in. They're not just going after Israel. They're punishing both. And this is a punishment of God. It's a picture of the great punishment that's coming in the tribulation when God himself does it. Now in the Old Testament we've got these vivid demonstrations, but that's just a small picture of what the tribulation is going to be. And the tribulation, he's going to finish it off. If you back up somewhere in there, he's talking about it's Babylon. But that passage matches. If you want to go home and study it, I don't have time to go through and relearn what I figured out. Micah 1 verse 9. Micah 1 verse 9. In that passage, it sounds like he's talking about Babylon being destroyed. God's going to come in and destroy Babylon. But yet, we know from history, God didn't come in to destroy Babylon. The Medes and the Persians did. They come in and then they get destroyed later. Well, there's coming a day that God does come back and destroy Babylon the Great, the mother of all harlots. So that's where it fits. And that's all of the details line up exactly. And he talks about it being a cup of fury and the wine of his indignation. Micah 1 verse 9. For her wound is incurable. You don't want to hear that when you go to the doctor. You don't want the doctor to say this is incurable. Nothing we can do. Nowadays, they try to make them incurable because the government's going to pay them for it. Put them on the COVID wing, we'll give you extra money. But lock the doors, don't let anybody up there to see what's going on. That was so infuriating to me. Even when there is a major outbreak, a SARS or something like that, they plexiglass the thing off and you can talk to them through something. But they weren't doing that with COVID. No, they're up on the 3rd floor and nobody can get up there and nobody can talk to them. We'll pass an iPad through to them. They can text you. That sounds like something crooked going on. Anyway, I got off the subject here. For her wound is incurable. For it is come unto Judah. He is come unto the gate of my people, even to Jerusalem. So the destruction comes in through Samaria. That's the northern kingdom. That's in verse 6. And into Judah. Of course, this plays out in 2 Kings 18 to 19. I'm not going to read it to you. And he goes all the way up to the gates of Jerusalem. He being Sennacherib. And he invades Jerusalem. He lays siege to it. Look at it in Isaiah 22. Isaiah 22 verse 7. Isaiah 22 verse 7. And it shall come to pass that thy choicest valleys shall be full of chariots. That's not full of his own chariots that he's mass produced. That's an enemy coming in. And the horsemen shall set themselves in array at the gate. They're wanting to break in. Well, this is Jerusalem. And he shall discover the covering of Judah. And thou didst look in that day to the armor of the house of the forest. That is, you did everything you could to break out some weapons and come fight, but it's not going to do you any good. Verse 9. Yet ye have seen also the breaches of the city of David, Jerusalem. They that are many, and ye gathered together the waters of the lower pool. This is when it happens. Sennacherib comes in and he's going to break down the gate and come in and destroy them. And he just about does it. Now he gets a follow-up visit, and Jerusalem does fall. The first time, God gives him a little reprieve, goes out there, sends one angel down to take care of some business, scare them off. But they come back. That's the thing about the devil. He doesn't stay gone. The second we get comfortable, he'll be back. Micah 1, look at verse 10. Now he's going to go out. He's moved past talking about Israel and Judah. And now he's going to begin talking about there's no place to flee. Even if you ran from Israel, let's say you were in Samaria and you ran, you found what God said he was going to do, and you ran, you wanted to run, he said, you don't go down to Judah, they're going to fall too. So, okay, well, I'll run over to the Philistine, the Gaza Strip. No, he's going to tell you they're all going down too. So I would move over Transjordan. Nope, they're going to fall too. He's going to wipe it all out. That's what he's going to end up saying. Verse 10. Declare ye it not at Gath. Weep ye not at all in the house of Ephraim. However you say that. Roll thyself in the dust. Now you've got all these really smart people, commentators, who want to tell you what these things mean. And I don't know. They're going to take the name, what the names mean, and they're going to tell you the name means this, and so what the person is supposed to do is related to that somehow. I don't know, but I can see plainly he's saying, I'm starting at Gath and I'm moving down the seaboard. We'll see. He's going to, I think this is also an illustration of one of the paths that he sends some sort of a weapon that destroys in the second advent. Look at another time this happened. 2 Samuel 1. 2 Samuel 1. This, don't warn the Philistines. That message. Tell it not in Gath. 2 Samuel 1 verse 19. This has always been an odd passage to me. If I was in Israel at the time, this is David lamenting over Saul's death. I would have thought, no, he's pulling our leg. This is the man who's been trying to kill him, and he's going to give this flowery speech about him. Here's what he says, verse 19. The beauty of Israel is slain upon thy high places. How are the mighty fallen? Tell it not in Gath, publish it not in the streets of Askelon. That's the Philistine territory. Lest the daughters of the Philistine rejoice, lest the daughters of the uncircumcised triumph. He says, don't let them know. Now, in type, David is coming to the throne. He's the picture of Christ ruling in the millennium. One day, it says he's going to sit on the throne of David and rule the nations. So this is David when he finally gets to get on the throne. And he's saying, don't tell it in Gath. Why? Because he's going to come destroy them. And that's what David does. He comes and wipes out the Philistines, but he says, don't give them a warning. Because we're mad now. We've got a grudge. Don't let anybody tell you that God doesn't hold grudges. God holds massive grudges all through the Bible, and he holds them for thousands of years. And he does something about it. Now, that doesn't mean you get to do it, because you would hold it with sin. You'd hold a grudge on one side, and then half of your hand would have sin in it, and the other hand full of it. We can't do a grudge right. Now God can. Verse 11. Our passage, where am I? Micah 1, verse 11. Pass ye away, thou inhabitant of Sephar, having thy shame naked, the inhabitants of Zoan, come not forth in the morning of Beth Zerel. I'm saying these words probably all wrong, but y'all hear it. He shall receive you his standing. The inhabitants of Sephar, they're going to pass through, and he says the way they're coming through is they're coming through naked. That is, when the Assyrians get done with them, they won't have anything. Now they're going to strip the land, that's true. But they're going to do that to the people as well. When these ancients went to warfare, there was nothing nice in it. There were no Geneva Convention rules of engagement. It was be just as cruel and mean as you can so everybody bows to what you want. That's the devil. He honors no rules of conventions that any man makes up. He's just as mean and cruel as he can be. Isaiah 47. Isaiah 47, verse 3. Isaiah 47, 3. You'll find as you go through your Bible that most of it in the Old Testament is prophecy about one subject: Jesus Christ coming back. He's done little demonstrations of it all through the Old Testament for people to see and look at and know what's going to happen in the end, multiplied by 1,000,000,000. Here's one of them, Isaiah 47:3. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I, this is God, will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. When does that happen? The only time it happens is when he comes to earth. And he's not meeting people as a man. He's meeting them as the holy, spotless Son of God. And he's got a weapon coming out of his mouth that he's destroying with and stomping people. Verse 12, Micah 1, verse 12. For the inhabitants of Maroth wait carefully for good, but evil came down from the Lord unto the gate of Jerusalem. Ooh. So there's some people there and they're waiting. They're thinking, surely we'll get some good news. You know, our boys have been out there and we've seen them working hard, and, you know, they're great warriors, and surely we'll get some kind of a good report from them. But they wait and they don't get any report at all. Now that's got to be nerve-wracking. We'll find it happen again. Look at Judges. Judges 5. Our passage in Micah says that the evil came from the Lord unto the gates of Jerusalem. That is, they're going to get a report about something, a not a happy report. You know, a sad face on the report card. Judges 5, verse 28. The mother of Syria looked out a window. Okay, she's waiting for somebody to return. And cried through the lattice, Why is his chariot so long in coming? Why tarrieth the wheels of his chariot? Her wise lady answered her. Yea, she returned answer to herself. Have they not spoiled? All these questions. Have they not divided the prey, to every man a damsel or two? This is how vicious they are. That's what she expected. Them to rape and pillage. And that was supposed to be a good thing. To Sisera a prey of divers color, a prey of divers color of needlework, of divers color of needlework, of divers color of needlework on both sides. Meat for the necks of them that take the spoil. Well, she can fantasize all she wants, but the fact is he ain't coming back. And that's them waiting and longing for good news, but good news doesn't come. Guess what God says is going to happen in Jerusalem? Now, it did happen, but that ain't the end of the story. It's going to happen again in the tribulation. He says if you're in Jerusalem, you better get down and flee. When you see this happen, when you see the Antichrist sitting down where he ain't supposed to be sitting, declaring he's God, get up and run. Don't take a flight. Use your feet and make them fly.
Don't even go down and get your clothes.
No clothes. Grab what you got and run. He says, our passage, Micah 1, verse 13. Micah 1, verse 13. Oh, I'm about out of time. I was hoping to finish this chapter. He says, O thou inhabitant of Laish. Now, that is a little spot on the border of Philistine territory. It is Philistine. Bind the chariot to the swift beast. She is the beginning of the sin of the daughter of Zion. Who's the she? The she is Lachish. How do you say that? Lachish? That little city. Something wicked about that little city. He said that's the beginning of the sin of Zion. Whatever it was they were fooling around with had infiltrated Jerusalem, Zion. For the transgression of Israel, for the transgressions, plural, of Israel, were found in thee. He says, that mess that Israel was doing that God got so mad at, we found it when we got over to your little city. That's where it was manufactured from. Oof, bad news. Now, I have way more material on this subject than we can handle. We'll pick up there at verse 13. Next week we'll do Micah 1:13. We'll start at 1:13 and we'll trace down this sin that had condemned Jerusalem.